Hey guys, it's me, Mr. 250, and welcome back to Higurashi. So, as I said last time, we're basically done with most of the setup for all of this story I guess we're about to get into, presumably. I'm assuming this isn't like, it isn't just about to end. And it was talking about getting all the game board, everything set up. I think this is going to be like our last real bit before we start doing all these fragments and the game board setup. Once the game board's set up, we can start doing some of these as well. So let's go ahead and see. Yep, there we go. With this, do I have all the pieces lined up for 1983? It sure is a hard and exhausting job, just lining up the pieces for the month of June. But finally I'm at the starting line. Beginning from zero, at last. Yet, seeing all these colorful fragments together, I realized just how many sentiments were intertwined around June 1983. I used to think the thoughts of people with no relation to me were useless. But I was wrong. Rika Furude did her best to overcome the fate of June 1983. She did two things. One was to get in touch with the Irie Institute because she knew she would be protected there. Ironically, Takano from the Irie Institute was the one who wanted to kill her, but it was the best move for her at the time. And the other was to ensure that the Maibara family moved to Hinamizawa. It actually wasn't certain that the Maibara family would move here. They first decided to move here when the father felt something sentimental at the sight of us on the day he came to view the properties for sale. So I was right. The property manager did hire them to run around in the field. Therefore, it was necessary for us to play in that field. It was the trigger for the Maibara family move. It took me so long to find that out, though. After turning various conditions on and off repeatedly, I finally realized that meeting Keiichi's father at that field was the cause. Keiichi Maibara is a very important key for breaking Rule Z, one of the chains that was binding me. He's the fresh air that's powerful enough to break all the old and evil customs in this village. He created many opportunities, but he also provided me with an important clue by letting me know that a strong conviction and the will to believe is what's important in standing up against a powerful fate. But I wasn't the only one who wanted him here. People in the Sonozaki family who wanted to wipe out the nastier traditions of the village also wished for him. Mion Sonozaki vowed to herself protect Satoko and Satoshi because she was very much bothered by how irrational the treatment of the Hojo family was. And on the night Satoshi Hojo disappeared, she exploded at Oryu Sonozaki and voiced her true feelings. Oryu Sonozaki understood. Oryu herself had come to understand the wicked customs of the village and had been wanting to do something about it. But she didn't have the power to do so herself, so she entrusted it to the fresh air that was blowing in from the outside. That was why the lots went on sale, so the Maibara family could move in. Even if I danced in that field, if Oryu hadn't put the lots on sale, Keiichi couldn't have come. And Reina Ryugu, who provided many important opportunities for Keiichi Maibara, was saved by returning to Hinamizawa after the deep emotional trauma of her parents' divorce sent her into a terminal condition. Keiichi Maibara's wish to restart his life was the same wish Reina Ryugu had a year prior. Maybe that's why Rina was able to understand Keiichi. It's like the miracle where one can recognize moments in a certain fragment from another fragment. If they can use the lessons learned from one fragment, then humans won't make those mistakes. The game pieces will make their best moves, and the chances of winning this game of June 1983 will rapidly increase. In other words, Rin Ryugu makes extremely important moves on this game board without realizing it. The mighty Rule Z that surrounded the Hojo siblings was eventually smashed by their actions. Of course, Satoko overcoming herself was also a big help. Their hands met only because they reached from both sides. Keiichi and Rina are the ones who taught me that. Mion is the one who made it possible for them to move here, and she also helped them to become familiar with the village. That's not all. Irie is also an important piece with significant functions of his own. Feeling empathy for Satoko, he is the most influential piece on the board we call Hinamizawa Syndrome. His existence is capable of defeating Rule X. Keiichi and Rina's determination and subsequent awakening taught us that it was possible to fight against Rule X, but they didn't defeat it. Defeating Rule X requires the existence of Irie, who has the strong will to discover a cure for the syndrome. I didn't know Irie held this many thoughts within him. I always thought he was rather absent-minded, but he is in fact an important and powerful piece. So if we gather all this power, can we win against Takano's will? I've seen Takano's thoughts too. Sadly, her will is strong and can't be easily broken. It's no wonder our fate in June 1983 has been so hard to shake, no matter how hard we fought. The sentiments I've been turning towards it pale in comparison to how many she's brought into it. The weight of our game pieces are different because I've given up on fighting, while she's been risking her life to fight on. I've spent time sulking and drinking wine to escape from reality. I must be a very light piece indeed. I can't win against Takano with what I have so far. I need more pieces to be able to win. The officer Oishi once showed the possibility of becoming a strong ally, but he's under the misunderstanding that the Sonozaki family caused the death of his dear friend. So until that gets resolved, he won't be of any help. I don't know how I can resolve that misunderstanding, but I just have to believe in it and keep throwing the die. Just like Keiichi and Rina constitute a chance to change fate. Maybe Akasaka has the power to create a chance as well. I've kind of forgot about him. The curse of 1983 is tied to the curse of Hinamizawa. A curse can't be broken by inner power alone. It takes power from outside as well. Both sides have to reach out, otherwise the hands won't meet, just like what happened with Satoko. But Akasaka has never come to our aid. Even if he did, it was always too late. Too late. Far too late. But if I keep throwing the die, will Akasaka's game piece eventually appear? The final rule, Rule Y, involves the evil masterminds who are using Takano as their own game piece. To defeat them, I need a very strong opponent for her. And the only one I can think of is none other than Akasaka from the police headquarters in Tokyo. There are more pieces who would lend me their power. I need to gather them all, otherwise I can't win against Takano. The preparation of the game board is complete. But I need more pieces. It's only the beginning. It's been a long one, although if you compare it to how long these chapters, games, whatever you want to call them, have normally been, it's not really been long. It's just, we started off with what seemed like a regular story and then we broke out into this. And I feel like after we're done with all of these little fragments, we're going to move back into a linear story again. So it kind of feels like it's going to be extra long, but maybe this is just the bulk of the, the chapter. Okay, so we've finally done all that. The game board is now set up as far as I know. So let's try these fragments if we can. And I'm going to be honest, I don't actually remember the order of the stories. I'm going to assume they're in the order they look like they are, I think, that they played in. So maybe I just kind of play them in order. We'll see. This piece is the only one that's so distorted. That's because it's from long before June 1983. Therefore, the existence of this piece has no effect whatsoever in the game we're playing on this board. But is this really a useless piece? The identity of Rule Y has been completely exposed by now. With the backing of a mighty organization, it's powerful enough to swallow up the small solidarity of individuals. I almost give up on this game because of its irrational power. That's why I'm thinking that maybe there's a piece hidden somewhere that's strong enough to fight against such a formidable enemy. Mamoru Akasaka works at the police headquarters in Tokyo and might have the power to stand up to such a vast conspiracy. Can his power withstand even Rule Y? Just like Keiichi Maibara defeated Rule Z, will he be able to defeat Rule Y so easily? We need everyone's strength. So Akasaka's strength is needed as well. Oh, these are short ones. Okay, fair enough. Maybe we will get through all this today. Or maybe it's just because this one she's like, yeah, I don't really know what to do with this piece, so we're going to move on. Okay. I really don't remember the order of the games. Maybe I should look it up so I know which one she's talking about. Hold on. Okay, sorry. So, Hima Tsubushi is actually the one with Akisaka. That's why she mentioned him. So that's the one where, like she said, it starts before the story. It's 5 years before the story when there's like a kidnapping of the construction minister grandson. And then it leaps afterwards to 5 years after the story happens when they're investigating the dead village or something like that. So I'm going to make sure to pull this up so that I have a better idea of what we're talking about. Okay, Oni Kakushi is the first one. Okay, so let's try that one. In order for Keiichi Maibara to become a game piece that can lead everyone, there's something he has to learn about first. The piece that's very painful, pitiful, and sad. He has to learn about his friends, and he has to learn to not doubt them. He doesn't know the importance of trusting his friends. He doesn't know, just yet. A slight mistrust grows into paranoia, and Keiichi Maibara is trapped within Rule X. At the end of Rule X, Keiichi leaves a sad note and dies. While it may be very bitter and very painful, it also puts him through the process of learning something very important. Hey, Hinyu, you didn't have to apologize. In the few days, he left Hinamizawa to attend his relative's funeral. Tragically, he experienced an outbreak. But I think this was necessary as his first step towards learning something important. The very first step towards smoking out Rule X and eventually defeating it. When this piece was all I had, I didn't even think of that, though. Yeah, so it does look like these are all short. Yeah, we probably will get through all this today, then. Okay, let's see. Let's get all these game board setup ones. Watanagashi is the second game, okay. And to be perfectly honest, I can't It's been so long that I'm starting to get some of these stories mixed up in my head. There we go. I'm looking them up on the on their respective wikis. Right, okay. I'm actually glad I'm taking time to look these up so I can reacquaint myself before I get started with this. So Watanagashi was the second one, where Shion is revealed as a new character, and you end up talking, or Keiichi I should say, ends up talking with Shion on the phone a bunch, and actually thinks it might be, like, is very suspicious if he's talking to Shion or Mion for quite a while. And it ends with Mion saying to come down to, like, their torture dungeon or whatever, and then Shion's, like, stuck in a cage. Yep, that's right. Okay. Anyway, let's go ahead and do this one. This game piece reminds us that no matter what happens on this game board, everything is due to the curse or the Sonozaki family pulling someone's strings. No, to put it in my words, this is the piece that makes everyone aware of existence of Rule Z. It's hard to notice with just this piece that this is a complicated fragment where Shion Sonozaki, while trapped in Rule X and mistaking it for Rule Y, is hurled about, comes to notice the existence of Rule Z. But this is also the piece that teaches us the rules of the game board. By the way, the piece called Shion Sonozaki is a piece coming from the outside, from the game's point of view. She disliked Satoko Hojo at first, but through this and another piece she learned something important. Challenges Rule X and then grows to be a powerful piece to fight Rule Z. The most ridiculous part of this fragment is that it's hidden so cunningly and doesn't seem that way at all with just a passing glance. Learn from your mistakes. Please become a powerful piece and lend me your strength to defeat my enemies. Yeah, these are really short, jeez. They must be like 10 to 15 line long apiece. I spent more time trying to relearn about this chapter rather than actually moving forward. Okay, Tatari Roshi. Let me look that one up. Alright, so this was actually one of the really interesting stories. This is the one where we sort of start to figure out that that Satoko, you know, has the uncle that's treating her poorly. I guess he comes back into town, and he wants to save her, ends up killing the uncle himself, and then weird stuff just starts happening, where he's like, nothing that he knows made sense, compared to what his friends are telling him. And it looks like stuff just kind of starts going bad. He confides this information to Irie, who then tries to sedate him. And I guess the thing is that everybody that he wishes is dead ends up dying. Very interesting chapter. This one's cool. This piece shows us the existence of the unreasonable Rule Z surrounding Satoko, and reveals the most powerful adversary rule on the game board, Rule Y. Can the rules X, Y, and Z be seen now? The enemy we need to fight. The things we need to learn. All are gathered and revealed here in this fragment. At this point, it's impossible to reach Rule Y. Fighting against Rule Z's effects on Satoko is the best that can be done. But in this piece, we make a mistake in our approach for fighting it. The outcome we gain through erroneous means is erroneous itself. Keiichi Maibara learned that through his own experiences, a tragedy doesn't possess the power to overcome tragedy. Violence doesn't possess the power to overcome violence. If they can grasp that, all the pieces on this game board will learn the true way to fight. But Takano is too powerful. The shocking end of this piece doesn't allow us to learn it that easily. Yeah, and then he ends up waking up, because, like, he falls off the bridge, right? After Satoko, like, wants him to die. And he wakes up in the, village, there's nobody alive, and there's, like, that cleanup crew that comes, picks him up. Yeah, that one was a kind of weird story. Okay. Let me see, any other setups? No, okay. So, big word. Sumi Horoboshi. Alright, so this one was the one where we got to see both Keiichi and Rena's perspective. It starts with the woman that Rena's father started dating and she really didn't like. So she ended up killing her, right? And then there's all this like conspiracy and cover-up and stuff like that. And it ends on her taking the students in the classroom hostage and then having that big fight, and I think there was like fire or gas or something like that, and having a big fight on the roof, and it was really cool. Anyway, let's go check that one out. Yep. I feel like I'll learn some of this if I just click on it, but, you know, I want to get a little backstory, just to remind myself. This game piece is a very important meaning for us, because it showed us the first time that it was possible to poke a hole in the fate of June 1983. To start from the conclusion, everything gets taken in by Rule Y at the end, and all our effort is wasted. But we're challenging the great law that governs this game board, Rule X, head on. We're using everything we've learned so far from other fragments, which prove we can defeat it. We've grown by learning. In a game with no hope of winning, we can discover a slight chance of victory. This piece taught us that. With this game piece, Rule X was almost completely defeated. Keiichi Maibara and our other friends won't be led astray by something as pathetic as Hinamizawa syndrome in dance and tragedy any longer. It has also taught us that the rules aren't indestructible and are possible to overcome. In other words, it has given us, the ones who are on the outside of the game board, hope. It's an important fragment that serves as our turning point and the trigger for everything else. I do actually remember that to some degree. I should also mention, while we're in between things here real quick, I am going to be out without my main computer for a few weeks now, so I don't know how much longer this chapter is, or the game is even, but I'm planning on recording a few hour sessions here, if there is enough. I don't know how much longer it is. I'm assuming there's quite a bit more. And I'll edit them and then upload them over the next couple of weeks as normal. But if anyone says anything specific about this or the next, or possibly even the next episode, I won't really be able to make any changes until after that. Not that it makes much difference, but, you know, usually people will give me some little bits of information and stuff. Right, okay, so this was another pretty interesting one. Miyakashi was the first of the answer arcs, so that would be the 5th game. It starts with Shion escaping from the private school. That was a big thing, I remember. And this talks about how Mion and Shion switch places occasionally. And the person who tortures everyone is actually Shion dressed as Mion here. This is the one where she's holding Mion in the like the holding cell, and forces her to go down into the well, and then tases her, which causes her to fall to her death. Let's see. She also came back and stabbed Keiichi in the stomach at one point. That's how he died. Or no, he didn't die. He went to the hospital. She apparently sneaks into her apartment through her window to avoid police surveillance and slipped and fell. And then this is the one where Keiichi wakes up in the hospital and has that hallucination of Mion torturing him, and he apparently died of a heart attack. That's what the wiki article says. Anyway, now that we're refreshed, let's continue. This is the piece of Shion Sonozaki, who goes mad after being taken in by Rule X. With no room for sympathy, this is such a painful piece that one can only have pity. It distinctly identifies the keyhole of the padlock called Rule Z. Have we... So I feel like it's been a while. I feel like they might have told us. Do we know what Rule X, Y, and Z is? Hold on. Okay, so according to this wiki article, the universe rules are the 3 rules that constantly appears, defined by Rika Furude during the beginning of Minagoroshi Hen. So I do believe we've already been told these. So I don't feel bad about going back over them. Rule X was a random person in Hinamizawa succumbing to the Hinamizawa syndrome and is driven to acts of violence by extreme levels of paranoia. And then it lists examples in every one of the stories where that happens. Rule Y. Tomitake and Takano are killed on the night of the Watanagashi festival without fail in every scenario. It's considered to be more stable than Rule X, as this is consistent in every universe, meaning that this is absolute, caused by a powerful and unwavering will. Although this is independent of Rule X, these deaths of Tomitake and Takano usually act as a catalyst, which causes paranoia in Keiichi, Reno, Shion, and triggers Rule X. Gotcha. So that usually causes Rule X to happen. And everyone in Rule C, everyone in Hinamizawa believes that the Sonozaki family is responsible for the series of mysterious deaths. The very existence of the curse that causes much of the mistrust, suspicion, and paranoia, which ultimately leads to the acts of violence caused by Rule X. And this causes them all to suspect the Sonozaki, or in some cases the entire village. Okay, cool. I'm glad I got that little refresher on it. I can't remember them off the top of my head. So when they're just like, yeah, Rule X causes Rule Y to do Rule Z, I'm like, what? Okay. Anyway, let's continue. Keiichi Maibara becomes a key himself to pry open this padlock. And as Mion Sonozaki wished for, he becomes a wind that clears out the stagnant air filling the village. This piece also teaches us an important lesson. Shion Sonozaki learns through this piece, and then becomes a strong ally for Satoko Hojo. In that way, maybe Satoko Hojo is a piece that represents the padlock for Rule Z. Unless she's saved, Rule Z can't be defeated. And when she's saved, that means Rule Z is defeated. This piece indicates only that. That's the only thing Shion Sonozaki learned by gambling her life. But now I think it's very important. Every time I see Satoko and Shion argue about pumpkins, I think about that. Okay. I can tell this is going to be kind of annoying to edit all these little breaks I'm taking in between every one of these, but anyway. Minagoroshi.